Okay, gentlemen, AMSA paid Kalida Proprietary Limited $50,000 for a project entitled Strategic National Shipping Management Plan. Is that correct?
Yes, Senator.
Geez, I thought you were staring at him. I thought I was a ventriloquist then. Okay, no, you got me. All right, beauty. Thank you. What's it all about?
Senator, the work that was done by Kalida involves helping us to get our foundations in place to move to having a national shipping management plan. What that national shipping management plan aims to do is a similar body of work that we recently did with the North East Shipping Management Plan, and that is that we do the shipping traffic forecasts around the coast, we assess the risks that the growth in shipping traffic will bring, and then we look at what our business needs to do to address any growth in risk that stems from growth in shipping. So that then informs us where we need to put our aids to navigation, where we need to put our pollution stockpiles, where we need to put our search and rescue assets, and other things that we need to do with our port state control program, pollution measures, those sorts of things. So it's actually a shipping safety management and environmental management plan.
So at the end of it, it's completed? Or
Not yet. No, Senator.
When will it be completed, Mr. Kelly?
I'm hoping to have the entire country complete, say, within 18 months. The North East Shipping Management Plan and the North West have both been completed. The North East Shipping Management Plan was released quite recently, and that gives you a very good idea of what we want to roll out right around the coast. And it's about having a good strategic vision of where shipping is going to be travelling around our coast and making sure that we're positioned to deal with any increased risk that comes with that.
And is that report available? Public consumption?
Yes, it's on our web now.
On your website?
You can actually have my copy. I have with me here if you wish.
Okay, tremendous, thank you. Can I, how much time have I got, Chair? Hour?
5 minutes.
Okay, you also paid Kalida, I'm led to believe, $54,000 for a project entitled Cost Benefit Analysis. Is that right?
Kalida did several bits of work for us recently. That might have been with our information technology redesign, a business redesign project.
Well, for the purposes of time, if I can, Mr. Kenny, can you table for the committee everything that's Kalida's done and the cost?
Yes.
Thank you. Beautiful. Now, what portion of the $60 million in portfolio savings to industry is AMSA responsible for?
I think it's around 10 or 12 million. 12 million, Senator.
Okay, can you tell us how much of the target's been achieved so far?
I would have to say that at the moment we probably haven't achieved much at all, apart from with Marine Orders Part 54, which is marine pilotage, where we think we've saved about 0.04 million for marine pilots, pilotage providers and training providers. National Standard for Commercial Vessels, Part C1, about accommodation arrangements and personnel saving. We calculate there's been savings around 85 million to industry from that. Marine Orders Part 42, we believe we've achieved savings of about 0.01 million. And National Standard for Commercial Vessels Part C7A, safety equipment, we believe there's about 1.99 million.
1.19 on the safety equipment. Okay, so given that many of the savings are via regular adjustments, how much or how does AMSA ensure itself that these savings do not impact on safety, Mr. Kinley?
Because in all of our development of standards, Senator, it's all about managing risk. And it's actually about looking at what these standards are meant to address, how they're administered as well. So it's actually, in many cases, it's about how these standards are administered. It's in what paperwork people need to do, what sort of plan approval they need to do, and also looking at to be frank, looking at a lot of standards which have not been reviewed in a long time, and looking at what the actual contemporary risks are and how we can better achieve an equivalent level of safety with less cost to industry.
Okay, can you tell us then how AMSA would assure itself that you'd maximise, or minimise, I should say, any environmental damage through these savings, like damage to the reef?
Certainly the only one of those standards which is relevant to the reef standard is about Marine Orders Part 54 for pilotage.
What is it, sorry?
Marine Orders Part 54 for marine pilotage.
Right.
That standard has actually been continually, we've been continually working to improve safety in the reef. So we've not certainly lessened any of the standards about how pilotage is actually done. We've actually been enhancing training requirements and competency requirements there. Those savings are actually about reporting from the pilot providers, for example, to us, requiring less forms to be filled in. It's about administrative savings.
Okay, so I want to talk about consultation on regulatory change. So can you tell us what stakeholder consultation does AMSA undertake when it proposes changes?
With all of our marine orders, again, we have, with all of our standards, we have...
Last one, was it?
Sorry. We have consultations which, for the marine orders in particular, they're quite generally targeted to the specific industry that's involved. For example, with marine orders Part 54 about coastal pilotage, a lot of the consultation was with the pilotage providers in particular who were being regulated, the pilots who were involved, ship owners and shipping associations. We also, of course, consult with the Great Barrier Reef Marine Park Authority and other partner organisations.
Okay, sorry, Mr. Kinsey. Yeah, sorry to cut you off. You see, because you're so far away, you can't feel his breath on your neck like I can. So I'm just going to quickly throw three ones at you. And if we can answer them real quickly, I'd appreciate it. For you, Chair, so will AMSA respond to stakeholder comments publicly and publish justifications for changes you make, including where appropriate cost-benefit analysis with future changes?
Yes,
Thank you,
we
Mr.
do
Kinsey.
where we're able to.
Okay, that's tremendous. Is it the case that AMSA must consult with social partners when making changes to international conventions like the IMO for the safety of life at sea and, of course, the ILO Labour Convention?
It is only the ILO that actually talks about social partners.
Oh, okay. Not the IMO.
But we certainly do consult with industry and with employees. We certainly consult with the maritime unions when we do amend marine orders.
Okay, so that happens every time. You just take it upon, AMSA takes it upon itself not to worry that you're forced into it, you'll do it with the IMO as well as the ILO. My last one, who are the social partners?
Under the terms of the International Labour Organisation, the social partners in Australia are, for the ship owners, is the Australian Ship Owners Association. Yep. And generally, I think the Maritime Union of Australia is considered the employee social partner, and they take it upon themselves, or I understand the arrangement is to consult with the other two maritime unions.
Thank you, Mr. Kinsey.
Thank you. One question, Senator Williams.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Mr. Kinley, welcome. The AMSA streamline review that has been carried out, have you identified any areas which need attention?
The streamlining review is about the domestic commercial vessel standards, and there have been quite a few concepts which, again, have been published on our website. We're being very transparent about what they are, so there are a number of areas which have been identified.
Okay, and will these feed into the government's red tape reduction agenda?
We actually started the process with that agenda, actually before that agenda started, because, again, a lot of these requirements have been in place since time immemorial, and we thought it was well timed to actually examine what are the contemporary safety needs for a lot of these standards.
The government's just got to simply look at your website and they can see those red tape reductions that the government may be made aware of to remove them.
We certainly do report upon the streamlining process on our website.
Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Senator Milne.
Thank you. Yes, I wanted to ask AMSA about the search for MH370. So just to be clear, in the early days of the search, was AMSA the only government agency providing advice to government? So this is say March the 17th when you were coordinating the search.
Senator, certainly in the early days, we were coordinating the search and we were providing advice to government, but I'll ask Mr. John Young, our General Manager for Emergency Response, to give some more detail.
Senator, in those early days, AMSA was providing advice to government about coordination of a an air and surface search for floating material. There were other agencies who were active at the time, ATSB and Defence in particular, and I couldn't speak for what they were providing to government.
Okay, you were coordinating the surface search at the time, and you received, so it's unclear to me how you received the commercial satellite imagery of the objects that led you to tell the Prime Minister that this debris had been found. So did you get it first and then send it to the Australian Geospatial Intelligence Organisation, or was it sent to them and then you got it? What's the sequence of events?
My recollection, Senator, is that the sequence was imagery could come into any of the agencies engaged, but it was all sent to the Australian Geospatial Intelligence Agency for assessment, and we worked on the basis of those assessments.
So the Australian Geospatial Intelligence Organisation assessment, did they go any further than saying they were credible, however they may not be related to the aircraft?
I don't recall, Senator. I'd have to take that on notice, I'm sorry. I
Well, I'm just
remember the
asking,
detail.
was there anything more than just it's credible, however it mightn't be related to the aircraft? Because on the basis of that, the Orion aircraft were all sent to the location. 4 aircraft reorientated to the 23,000 square kilometres, 2,500 kilometres from Perth, on the basis of those 2 images. Is that correct?
My recollection, Senator, is that there were a number of images that the AGIO assessed some of them as credible sightings, and on that basis we reoriented the search to that area.
So could you take
we found nothing.
Could you take it on notice of how many images that were credible such that the search was sent there, and how long did you search that particular area based on those images?
Certainly, Senator.
If you would have a look at that. Were you still searching there when the Prime Minister announced that the black box had been found? We're confident we know the position of the black box flight recorded to within some kilometres. Were you still searching that place when the Prime Minister announced he'd found the black box somewhere else?
I will verify it, Senator, but my recollection is no. In fact, the Prime Minister's announcement was some time after that southerly search. And as a general observation, wherever the search was underwater, that's where the air search was as well, because it assumed that the aircraft had entered the water in a particular place. That search area moved during the operation, but the air search and the underwater search were tied together.
Yes, they were tied together. So what I'm trying to establish is you'd already finished the search of that on the basis of those images by the time it was now 12th of April when the Prime Minister
Yes.
made his statement. So you had finished that search. So is it fair to say that that search was conducted on the basis of 2 satellite images that geospatial intelligence had determined were credible?
Senator, I will say it's fair to say that search was based on images that we received. I would need to go back to the records and find out the number and the classification of them, or the categorisation.
And was there any other reason apart from those images that took you to that search zone?
Yes, it was close to where we were originally searching based on estimates of where the aircraft may have gone. That's why the satellites were looking in that area, and that's why the images were found, and we redirected from the area we had been in, some distance but relatively small in comparison with the other movements of the search area based on the satellite sightings.
And who determined that initial search area? Where did you get the idea that that's where the plane might have gone down?
It was an AMSA decision on the selection of the search area. The advice was coming from an international team in Kuala Lumpur that were working many different sources of information, including, as you might have heard, communication pings through an Inmarsat satellite, radar information from Malaysian air defence radar, and anything else that was to hand, plus Boeing's assessments of how far the aircraft could have flown and in which directions it was most likely to have flown based on their knowledge of the aircraft's performance.
Sorry to interrupt and I apologise, but you're cutting into Senator Longrain's time over here because we're on a limited time. Could you put the rest of the questions on notice?
Senator Rice.
She understood the joke earlier in the day. You mightn't.
Okay, all right. I'll just ask one more. So when the Prime Minister was wrong, wasn't he, when he said,
I know.
we're confident we know the position of the black box flight recorder to within some kilometres?
Senator, we're not engaged in the underwater search. I think that would be a question better addressed to the Australian Transport Safety Bureau.
I intend to.
Senator Rice, thank you very